All right, we will now call to order the January 8th, 2026 special meeting of the Board of Education. Sheila, can we please get roll call?
Emily Garrett.
Present.
Cindy O'Connor.
Present.
Dick Alday.
Present.
Present.
And our mission statement, North Platte Public Schools is a destination school district and community that embraces innovative opportunities and distinguished programs to create highly competitive advantages for all students, instilling the canteen spirit in an evolving world. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act legislates the methods by which public meetings are conducted. Information pertaining to this act is posted here in the boardroom. Now, if you'll please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, at this time, we will enter into public comment. Public questions and comments may take place at this time in the agenda. Individuals who want to address the board must complete a guidelines for public comments form with the date, topic addressing, name, address, and the name of any organization you represent, and give it to the board clerk prior to the meeting. Sheila, do we have any? Okay. All right, then we will go ahead and move on to our interviews and discussion of board member candidates for Ward 3. So just as a bit of background information and rationale here, board member Justin Thompson did move outside of the ward. So we had a resignation that the board approved at our last meeting. We advertised for this position both on our website, social media, and in the local news outlets. We were able to receive applications on our website. So prior to tonight, those applicants that we're getting ready to interview have already answered a series of questions that the board has been given access to prior to tonight. And then we've formulated some additional questions to ask tonight on top of that information. So we do have two applicants that we will be interviewing this evening. So we have Mr. Jim Whitney and Mr. Mitchell Wagner. And so we're going to interview both of you separately. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first? If not, we have a coin we can flip. Okay. All right. We'll have you come up and join us up here. Yep. So we don't lose it. Good call. Didn't know it's special. So much pressure. All right. Thank you, Mr. Whitney, for joining us tonight and for your application. So the board has taken the time to review your application, and we have a series of questions that we're going to ask. Each board member has a couple of questions that they will ask you. And so we're just kind of going to rotate around the room. And if you have any questions for us during that process, we, of course, welcome those as well. So, Cindy, we'll start with you.
I'm good. Yourself? Well, what differentiates me is kind of hard to answer because I don't really know a lot about the other candidates. As far as myself, I guess I would say the number one thing would just be my background. You know, I've been involved in education in a variety of positions, both here and elsewhere. So I think those experiences have helped me to become a good listener, somebody that is willing to take the time to look at all aspects of something before making a decision, as well as I really strongly believe that you have to be able to be willing to listen to the other sides or the other aspects of people's opinions, so that you can take everything in. No one person has all the answers to everything and is right on everything, and you also have to be willing to change your opinion if other folks are more persuasive and bring more information maybe that you didn't have. Hope that answered the question. Well, I'm retired, so that's definitely a plus there. I don't have a lot of things on my schedule. Um, and I mentioned this to Dr. Rhodes when I brought my letter of interest in. The only real conflict that I would have initially is the fact that I'm still involved helping coach the boys soccer team at the high school. And I looked at the calendar and we have contests on in April, the first meeting of the month, and then in March, whenever that Thursday is, that there's the last meeting. So that would be my only real conflict. Obviously, you have no way of knowing what's going to come on down the road, but my schedule is very flexible and open. Pretty much revolves around my grandchildren. So I doubt you'd have something on a Friday night.
Good evening, Mr. Whitney.
Good evening, Mr. Altig.
How would you handle a situation where a request or concern was brought to you by an individual in the community, an employee in the district, or a special interest group?
Well, depending on the exact situation, I would thank them, for being willing to come forward and not just sit back in their easy chair and grumble. But I would expect that there would be an appropriate person or group to which that concern or complaint needed to be directed. Because, as an individual, I'm just a citizen. Individual board members have no authority about anything regarding the school unless they're sitting as a member of the board. So, any questions or concerns that a patron of the district brought to me, I would first listen, because mostly people that are unhappy about something want to be listened to. They don't necessarily always expect their problem to be solved, but I would then direct them to whomever that concern needed to be taken to, whether it would be the school board or a building administrator or the superintendent, whatever's appropriate.
Okay. Excuse me. How do you approach working as part of a team when there are differing opinions or conflict? If the majority of the board makes a decision that you disagree with, how will you respond to move forward?
Well, I'm a huge believer in that whatever the group is, they need to be committed to being able to have open and honest discussions. Whether that be in public or if it's in private, that should be pretty easy. If it's in public, it needs to be done in a respectful fashion. If you are a member of a group, if the majority of the group feels that a decision needs to be made in a way that you don't necessarily agree with, it's your responsibility to try to persuade them to your way of thinking. But if and when the decision is made, you need to support the group's decision. Otherwise, you're just going to be undermining whatever the effort is. And in the end, that would do the students, the teachers, no good. And it would probably be very harmful in terms of, negative consequences.
Good evening. It's my
Good
turn.
evening.
What role does policy play in the function of the board? And do you have any experience with leading through policy?
Yeah, some, as a building administrator, I had to deal with various policies. So I have some experience in that, not a ton, because I've not been a district administrator. What was the first part of that question again?
What role does policy play in the function of the board?
It's the cornerstone. The board's job, or one of their jobs, as I see it and understand it, is to implement the policies of the district. So my job as a member of the board would be to engage in whatever discussions need to be had regarding the issue that revolves around that policy. But, my opinion would would not matter all that much if it differed from the policy. The policy is there for a reason. It is the guiding light, the guiding principles. If I have a concern with the policy, then it's incumbent upon me to try to persuade the board, maybe the fellow board members, maybe that the policy needs to be changed in some fashion. And obviously you got to go along with whatever state and federal laws are. Can't just avoid those.
How would you uphold confidentiality requirements? Example, student information, personnel matters, and ethical guidelines for board members while balancing transparency with the public?
Well, what you can share, you should share with whatever the public is. If I'm a building administrator, I need to share whatever information I can so that the staff understands the basis of a decision or what the facts are that are being laid out to them. You also need to make it very clear that based on certain statutes or laws or policies that you can't share that information. It's nothing personal. It just, I can't share that with you. And in most cases, I think if you talk to them about if the tables were turned and it involved some member of your family, I think you would definitely not want that information changed. So sometimes being able to give them an example helps an individual to understand, certain limitations.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How does chain of command guide the process of a school district? And how do you view your role and relationship as a board member with others in the district, the superintendent, administrators, teachers, and community members?
Chain of command is crucial. Otherwise, you end up potentially with just people complaining willy-nilly. It doesn't do any good to complain about something or express a concern about something to an individual or a group that has no authority in whatever that area is. So the concern, complaint, whatever you want to call it, needs to be directed to the appropriate individual or group. Again, as an individual board member, one of the way I see it, one of the roles of an individual board member is if people express concerns to you, you thank them for expressing those concerns, tell them, who is the individual of the group that they need to take that to. But given that many times they won't, if you feel that it's at all important as a board member, I should either bring that to the appropriate district person or the entire board if it's a board matter. Probably through the president or the superintendent, since they organize the meetings and the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, how would you describe a successful board meeting? And how do you see yourself contributing to that?
Well, again, it would depend on exactly what is happening at the board meeting, but to me, the keys would be respectful conversations, even if you really disagree with that, with something or, about something. All people deserve to be treated with respect, but you also, especially if you have strong feelings about things, you got to remember to listen, because, your view might be slanted. And you certainly don't want to carry your prejudices forward if they're not really, if they don't have a lot of substance to them. So my role in the board meeting would be to model respectful behavior, be a good listener, ask appropriate questions. And then when I ask appropriate questions, again, being respectful and don't just throw the question out there, but listen to what the person has to say. You know, they may have more information or more insight than you. So being respectful and being a good listener and role model, I think would be the way I would respond to that question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. What does good governance look like? And what is your definition of success in governance?
Good governance would start with having a clear plan or format or set of policies, I guess, in terms of the district, and then making sure to clearly communicate that to the appropriate people, with the result being, and this is to me where the good governance part comes in, once people have the information, they feel comfortable both asking questions and discussing amongst themselves whatever the issue is, because in the end, that'll get you more support. You're always going to have people that are unhappy about any given thing. You know, you can't please everybody because, you know, everyone's situation is different, but you have to try to gain the support of the majority, knowing that the focus is on the students and providing the very best education in the individual classrooms that you can. And that involves being supportive of the teachers and providing them with the framework in which to comfortably do their jobs.
Thank you.
Again, you kind of come back to respect and trust. You know, I hate to use those same words over and over, but you know, that's what I believe.
Okay, now this last question that I have for you was actually asked of you in your written application. So this is a repeat question.
Hopefully
gotta-
I'll give you the same answer.
Yeah, we got. But we did want to end our questions for you by giving you that opportunity to share that publicly as well, since this is a very public process that we
Okay.
do this. And so the question is, what is your vision for education in this school district? How does your vision align with the district's strategic plan?
Well, I'm not real well versed in the district strategic plan, but again, it comes back to the individual classrooms doing the best we can for the students, because that's what we're here for. But a part of that goes back to policy and framework and modeling, so that the teachers feel that they are supported. And if they feel that they're supported, they're going to feel that they're respected. And once you have the respect of someone, you can start trusting them. So once that happens, and the central office administration, the board, the building administrators, the teacher groups in the schools, if they're all headed in the same direction, then you should have a pretty positive outcome in terms of your end product, and that's the students. Hate to refer to them as a product because, you know, they're people, but in this day and age with standards and all that stuff, yeah, you do have to make sure that, you know, they're as well prepared as possible. Hard to predict, not knowing what jobs are going to be out there in 10 years. Again, I hope I answered your question.
I think you answered the question. Thank you. What questions, if any, do you have for the board?
Well, I know in an interview, you're always supposed to have a list of questions you're supposed to ask, because that makes you look like you've looked into it. I think I have a pretty good idea of what, you know, being a board member is all about, due to my previous experiences. But there is one thing, and it's kind of mundane. How long is the remainder of this term? Should I be selected? So, okay. I never really paid that much attention. Board members got elected.
Yep, there would basically be exactly 3
Okay.
years. Justin was sworn in last January at the regular meeting, so our newly appointed member will be sworn in Monday at our regular January
That's
meeting.
kind of what I thought. I thought they were 4-year
Yep,
terms.
so there will be 3 years left.
And
Great
so like
question.
whoever the other person is in this ward, are they both up for election at the same time, or is it staggered every 2?
It is staggered, yes. Yep, so the other seat for Ward 3 is my seat. So that will be up for election this next election term.
I was hoping that is the case, because then you have some continuity
Yes.
and you have some people that understand the reasoning behind certain decisions and not just a bunch of open slates up there.
Mhm.
That's really all I have.
Okay,
Appreciate the opportunity.
absolutely. We appreciate
you
you
well.
coming. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll have you stay
Okay.
as long as you don't have any obligations to go anywhere. We're going to interview our other applicant and then the board will discuss and we will make that appointment tonight.
Okay.
So we reserve the right if there are additional questions that come up. We're doing our best to make sure that all of that remains fair and consistent between both applicants. So if we have a follow-up question for Mr. Wagner, we may ask you to come back up so that we can ask
That's
you the
fine.
same question. Okay,
Whatever you
excellent.
need.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for joining us tonight. Cindy, will you kick us off?
Hello, Mr. Wagner. How are you?
Good, are you?
Good. What differentiates you from other potential applicants for this application? And what unique qualities or skill sets can you bring to the board makeup?
I suppose spending time both in education, for a short while, being educated in that, growing up with parents and family members and everybody I knew, being a teacher, but then also being in business where I've, got to operate my own systems. I have to have my own policies and be able to enact those and put them into policy into action, I guess. So if that answers your question.
Okay. And do you have concerns or questions about the time commitment involved to serve on the school board and your own availability and capacity to serve or attend training opportunities potentially out of town?
Shouldn't be an issue because I control my own schedule, but sometimes I also don't control my schedule. So if something needs to be done, then I have to be wherever I need to be to get it done. But I wouldn't think that would be a major issue. So.
Good evening.
Evening.
How would you handle the situation where a request or concern was brought to you by an individual in the community, an employee of the district, or a special interest group?
I think it's a matter of kind of like Jim said, that it's a matter of listening and letting that individual be heard, so that you fully understand what their concern is. And then I guess I would do my best to represent the board in that and make sure that they got to whoever they need to get to, or I could get the information to them, whatever would help reach a conclusion for them.
Okay. How do you approach working as part of a team when there are differing opinions or conflict? If the majority of the board makes a decision that you disagree with, how will you respond to move forward?
I guess I've been on a number of boards, and it's always a little bit tough where you're in business for yourself. You're kind of used to making the decisions and finding a way to get that done. But I've also played team sports and coached team sports in college, and being part of a team is exactly that. And there's going to be times when you disagree with one another, but you have to find a way to deal with that. And hopefully you can make a persuasive argument when you do disagree, but that won't always be true. So you represent the team. So.
What roles does policy play in the function of a board? And do you have any experience with leading through policy?
I guess not technically any experience, but in anything you do, business wise or anything else, you always have a goal that you're reaching for. And then again, you have to find a way to get there, but it matters what you're aiming at, and can you get there, and do you need to change direction, reassess the approach you're taking because it's not working, so.
How would you uphold confidentiality requirements, example, student information and personnel matters, and ethical guidelines for board members while balancing transparency with the public?
And I agree with Jim on that too. I mean, you have to be as transparent as you can possibly be. That's something that I think's highly important. And I think that's where people tend to get frustrated is when they feel like things are kind of made behind closed doors and, we're not have nuclear secrets here. So, I bet you can deal with most of it. But when it comes to the confidentiality of an individual, be it a teacher or student or other board member, things like that, obviously would be respected.
Good evening.
Hi.
How does chain of command guide the process of a school district? And how do you view your role and relationship as a board member with others in the district? The superintendent, administrators, teachers, and community members.
I guess having never done this, it would be a matter of learning how that all operates, staying within, within the guidelines and again, the confidentiality and whatnot, but I might have you do that one more time for me. I'm sorry. That's how quick I can lose my train of thoughts.
How does chain of command guide the process of a school district? And how do you view your role and relationship as a board member with others in the district?
Okay. I guess it's somewhat like the policy. You've got a place you're trying to get to and you've got a way that you've got to do it from top down. So I guess as a board member, I would be part of a group of people that's trying to set up those policies and the best procedures to reach those.
How would you describe a successful board meeting and how do you see yourself contributing to that?
Well, hopefully I could contribute just by listening and learning and hopefully uh, giving useful information or thoughts. But I think more than anything, it would be a matter of learning and fully understanding because from out here, I don't have that insight yet. So,
Okay.
Thank you for being here tonight.
yeah, thank you.
All right. What does good governance look like? And what is your definition of success in governance?
Man, that's tough. I can't think of a lot of examples of good governance, but again, it probably goes back to a group of individuals that has a like-minded goal, just like a team, and you work your way to get there. And like I said, if you have new information or different information, you need to change course to make something happen, or realize a policy maybe is unattainable. You just have to reassess and come back at it again. Kind of like teaching or coaching, I guess. You know where you're trying to go, and if you got the information there and it worked, great. If not, you're gonna have to go back and do it again.
And then again, this question was asked of you both in your written applications, but we did want to give you the chance to answer it publicly as well, because it's a pretty important
It's like a
question.
deposition I have to stay on.
Yeah. What is your vision for education in this school district, and how does your vision align with the district's strategic plan?
Just kind of glancing at the strategic plan after reading that question. I mean, it seems on par. I mean, obviously you want to be the best school system you can be. You want to deliver the best administrators and teachers that you can to make sure the children have the success that we want them to have, be it either going on to further education or going out into the workforce. And obviously what you do in here trickles down to make sure that those things are attainable for the kids and that they have a good chance in life.
Okay. And then do you have any questions for us as a board that we can answer
Just
for
to
you?
let you down, I really don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll let you not have to sit there in the hot seat for a little while. Okay. Excellent. So at this time, board, we will take some time to, if you need to kind of go back through and make some considerations of answers, if you feel like you have a need for a follow-up question, we can certainly do that as long as we ask it of both individuals. And then if you have any discussion about, positives that you see from either of these individuals, I think we've had a couple of really great applications put before us and a couple of great interviews tonight with some similarities, but also some pretty contrasting differences on that. So I would love to open that up and continue that here with us.
Not that I had any follow-up questions. I appreciate both of you applying. I'm very excited that we had some great quality people apply. So I mean, I guess. Can I just make a motion?
We'll have to move on to our motion.
That comes.
Yep,
Like
to our
here's
next
our-
agenda item. Yep.
Mhm.
We'll make sure that there's no further.
No, I thought their
discussion.
answers were excellent. You know, and the answers that they had in the written that we saw, that I read about 4 times. And they thought well on their feet here with the questions they did not know were coming.
Yeah, we had some tough ones in there. So I agree.
I appreciate that there was an expression of a willingness to learn, that there was a expression of a willingness to be open-minded, and to consider the opinions from all sides. So I think those are things that I value, and as well as being able to express your opinion when you feel something, you feel strongly about something, but at the end of the day, supporting the decision of the group. So.
Thanks, Cindy.
I think they answered all the questions, right? And I thank them for that.
Yeah, I want to thank you both for just honestly, that takes a lot of guts to get up and be interviewed in a public capacity on a live stream. None of us, well, Skip had to do this, I guess. The rest of us did not have to do this process. And so we want to acknowledge and recognize that we know how uncomfortable that can be to be put on the spot. And some of those questions were pretty loaded questions that you had no idea we were going to ask you. But we also recognize the importance of this role, and when there's not a public election process, making sure that we're really doing our due diligence as a board to interview all applicants fairly. So thank you for your willingness to do that and the evidence thought that you had put into your answers. Honestly, I don't know that there is a bad choice. I wish we had 2 spots on the board, because I think you both would bring very unique qualities and skill sets. And I think that that could be really a great thing. So anything else on discussion? Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion to appoint a new board member to fill the board vacancy in Ward number 3.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Jim Whitney as the new board member to fill the board vacancy in Ward 3.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that before we call to a vote?
Well, I think his expertise in education is really a big help. When you get on the board, and that's probably one of the things that helped me when I got appointed, because the learning curve is shorter than some. And I liked his answers of listening so many times, and his answers were there, being open and honest. The chain of command answer was excellent. You know, he understands that because he dealt with that. And talking about policies, basically that's what we put together. And then and as a building administrator teacher, he had to follow those. And I like the answer on the last question there about modeling for the teachers model for students. Thought that was a really, really good answer.
Thanks for sharing.
I think I would just like to mention that I do think that his experience in education in various roles could be an asset. I also think just what I have learned of him personally as a community member, he's someone who's out in the community because he has been involved in so many things over so many years, that there's a lot of people who know him and trust him, and I think as far as I understand it, have a great deal of respect for Mr. Whitney.
Any more discussion on that? Okay. Before we call to vote on that, I want to be super honest that I am really torn tonight. Because I think that we have two great options. And Mr. Whitney, I had the opportunity to teach with you at Adams for a short time. I think you came out of retirement to help the district in that role. And really, I really enjoyed working with you. And I think you are very highly respected. I think probably my only point of potential concern, and I use that word knowing that that's not quite communicating the tone that I'm looking for. But I just thinking through our board makeup, we already have 3 former employees of the district in our board right now. And when I think about representing the community and having a well-rounded board, that's my only hesitancy. I know that that definitely can be a positive, and having family members that teach in the district can be a positive. But I also feel like at times that can make it really hard to make tough decisions. And so I'm still a little torn, I guess. And I just wanted to be super transparent about what it is that has me a little bit hesitant.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I absolutely adore the Whitney family. I always have. I've known the Wagner family for a long time too. So one thing that I really appreciate is somebody who has run a business and understands policies and business, because that the district is more of a business when it comes to the policies and setting those. That, like you said, those candidates are amazing. So
This is just it's a tough call because you've both done very well.
I don't know who this is tougher for, you guys or us up here. Okay. Any more discussion or questions on this before I call to vote? Okay, seeing none, Sheila will call this to vote.
Joanne Reed,
Aye.
Emily Garrett,
Nay.
Cindy O'Connor,
Nay.
Dave Baldwin.
Aye.
nay.
Okay, that motion has failed. So we will need to pretty much essentially keep making motions. So we have one that passes.
I will make a motion to appoint Mitchell Wagner as the new board member to fill the board vacancy in Ward 3.
A second.
Okay, opening this back up for discussion. Any board members have any further discussion that they would like to discuss on this motion before we call to vote?
One of the things that was brought up before, which was with both candidates, is the listening. Y'all know that was my standing when I ran too. My biggest thing was the family working in the district, because that can make a gray line. And the business aspect of it when it comes to the policies, because we need that and try to update and change policies to make sure that they fit. And, Mr. Wagner has been in education before. He's been educated in it. His family's been in it too. So, but they're not currently working in our district.
So in the spirit of being fully torn on this decision and fully transparent, I also have some hesitancies here. So I think both of you have a lot of positives. I think both of you have some areas where I could see there being potential conflict and hard decisions. And so I think my only hesitancy here, I appreciate a business sense of mind, because I actually feel like that is maybe a gap that we're kind of missing on our board right now. That would be an asset. I also, the obvious hesitancy here probably just comes from a little bit less experience in this area. So we've seen that you have served on boards, you've served in that capacity, but a little bit less of a knowledge base in a couple of the questions about just how policy functions within a school district and like our chain of command processes and those things. On the flip side of that, I heard you express a desire and intent to learn. So I think that that would really be a key priority, would be that willingness to, you know, dive right in and learn how all of those things work. Yeah, so that's my hesitancy there, to be fair on both. Does anybody else have any comments, questions?
Sure.
Okay.
So I've been on the board long enough that I've had not personal interactions with Mr. Wagner, but I have had some interactions with him at our board meetings, and I can't say that all of those have been positive. I think that comes with the territory sometimes. I also do have a concern a little bit with coming from while I can appreciate a business mindset, schools do run differently than businesses. And there's some things that you just can't, you just can't run them like a business, or you'll probably run out of business a lot of times. So just because I think there's some different things that come there. So I think we can see probably what the decision is going to be. So it will be interesting to have an opportunity to learn and grow. That's what we're all about. But it's probably going to take a little bit of time for me to build a relationship with you, for sure.
Thank you for sharing that, Joanne. I appreciate your honesty on that.
I'm the same with Joanne.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll call that to question, Sheila. Aye.
Cindy O'Connor,
Aye.
Skip Ballsy,
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, the motion on that passes. We do have one more item on our agenda this evening. Before we want to move on, I do really genuinely want to thank both of you for coming tonight, for being willing to throw your name in the hat, for being willing to answer uncomfortable questions and conversations. This was a super tough night for us, honestly. So, yeah, you are certainly welcome to stay. We have one more item where we're going to introduce superintendent goals and contract. The discussion is probably going to be brief because we will move into closed session to discuss contract negotiations, but you are certainly welcome to stay, or if you don't wish to stay, that's okay too. So, okay. Our superintendent goals and contracts. Okay. Mr. Whitney. Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to shake his hand and tell him thank you, but that's all right. Okay, so just an update on our superintendent goals and contract. Last time we met, the board looked over superintendent evaluation and we reported kind of an overarching view on some of those results, some things that we would be looking at and goals prior to us moving into closed session to discuss contract. And so we're just bringing that back for further discussion tonight. We've kind of identified 3 key goal areas, and tonight we'll work on some of the specifics on certain benchmarks and things that we wish to see within that. So the first goal area that we are currently looking at, these are not official, these are drafts, so these have not been board approved yet. They're just here for discussion. Superintendent goal number 1 is mission, vision, and strategic plan implementation. And the goal associated with that would say the superintendent works collaboratively with the board to define, adopt, and institute the district mission, vision, and goals, ensuring the systematic implementation and monitoring of the NPPS strategic plan to advance high-quality education, academic success, and the well-being of each student. The second goal that we will be looking at is community engagement. The superintendent fosters meaningful reciprocal engagement with families, staff, community partners, and the NPPS Foundation in order to enhance educational opportunities, increase stakeholder participation, and support the ongoing implementation and monitoring of the NPPS strategic plan. And then the third superintendent goal falls under the category of organizational leadership, culture, and governance relations. The drafted version of that currently is the superintendent provides effective educational leadership that cultivates a positive organizational culture, improves internal clarity and structure, and builds a collaborative, trust-based working relationship with the Board of Education in alignment with the strategic plan. Is there anything, Dr. Rhodes, that you wish to share or anything prior to us moving? Okay. I think we're ready for your motion then, Cindy.
I move pursuant to section 84-1410 of the reissue of the revised statutes of 1992, known as the Nebraska Public Meetings Law, that the board hold a closed session for the purpose of discussion of personnel matters with Dr. Rhodes and Dr. McDonald. I further move that this closed session is clearly necessary for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual and is specifically authorized by the Nebraska Public Meetings Law.
Right. Yeah. Okay, roll call, Sheila.
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye. Okay, we will be in 107 tonight. Well, it sounds fun. Yeah, will you be out there? Okay, that whole sense of picture when we're ready to dive in contract. There's no need having you sit down. Yep.
Emily, do you want me to come in now?
Yeah, that's probably, if you're okay with that.
No way. Right. It's not my identity. Right. No, I had no idea. Oh, crazy. He's like, what's not it? I told them. But I'm learning. Oh, you couldn't do that. I don't. Yeah.
there. Okay.
Oh, you sleep on that. You're right.
I think when you get it, pay for it. All right. You want these doors locked out here or wait? Yeah. Okay.
So I'm like. I think I know. I don't. I don't. I think I do. And then hopefully students can keep my plan. You can, you have to find this 304, 3,030. And if you don't, if you like, for the rest of the class, it's more than that. Is that? No, you're going to be, okay. I'm not even there, so I don't know that. So, but then, so what I was trying to figure out is, so the Brandy finds out 3 months ahead that, on the birthday, 31st of March, she is covered out first. So I can declare 1 day in March, covering the week. Yeah. I don't remember. Anybody else, but we, well, I'm not finding about, but I was okay. But I thought, well, there's one in spring, and they, that's what was my fault. So I don't know if that's a good enough test, but we read that one, but, and there's a 2-hour YouTube video to watch. But I went to seminar, like, probably 10 years ago. And so I tried to make the German Carol land, I think this year, of course, you mentioned. I'm like, I need to understand. So honestly, my conclusion, I mean, and I know the rules, each one of the things that I was gonna say, like, yeah, I do that. So the people that you get much things on those, here's some things to say, right? They're like, you get out, right? And I cashed out, I don't know if they, cashed out, for any kind of. So, me. Anyway, between the two. Yeah. And I actually think that any phone in your bank account. They're not ready. So, I did it. But I said it's not ready. But I didn't, no. Because, you don't get all kinds of. And right now, yeah, I know. You don't want to go with road rage because I'm something on the farm. They will just have, but, I'm telling you. That got right, yeah, it's small. Cause I know, if I'm gonna go down to deeper, I might as well be so serious. But all I'm there. Yeah. Don't think I remember probably. Younger, I had 5 years, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm only 13 months younger, so you got that, yeah. So, yeah, please, you're gonna be. Oh, you're probably 53. So. Every word's 53, right? That's what I'm 53. Yeah, so you're behind me, so I'll be smart by the time you come, so. Okay. But, yeah, so. Okay. What's stopping me? And what you actually give is. Something like that. So with Medicare, you have to. They don't have any other pay. And maybe. If you can't. So if I keep the two of it covered, for we're eligible money payer, we can have to catalog for this like. For whatever, $2 million for this, right? So it's still good. We had like, there's what is it? That is a good plan, so it's probably that's one, yeah, right out there. So. Right, yeah. Then, doctor said, your shoulder, you're gonna need another month and a half, there's one, Anyway, that was a good point, and he had to work like 5 months, so we can't do it. Because he got you out there walk, and he's like, I don't know, that's 6 years, he's like 1 year left. Yeah, that's me, that's how you can make a point, right? So, what are we gonna do now? Then my mom teaches about this. They're together. So you saw them. And I just, so like, like, oh, you know, the mother's like, oh, so, yeah, I know. Today, I guess, do about it, and that's what's not, okay, we're done. And come on, we're just bad. And that's what I told him. Yes, I'm gonna go now, on the back here, just a little bit, also. Okay. Yeah, you just stay and I'll come back and adjourn, and then you show me. Do that. Oh. So the first issue, you wanna know who it is, who would know, so the 2 analysts. One here. So it was, so we're talking for survey you. It was, Joanne and different look at. I'm very tall, check it out. You. And then the other was. What does it play out now? We were like, all you don't do, like. Yeah, I think I'm still there, but we were. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, thanks. Who did you? The older you go. Because of the surgery, all the time. And so, people never, you don't want that. Yeah, this surgery would work. So, this the and then the class that there was yearly, that's what's taking off and brought it around to class. Well, and this time, they didn't throw the tray, they just cut off. What do you think? Oh, no, you're never gonna be able to read it. Oh, so I mean, I'm just, okay. Oh, spelling, yes. Oh, spelling, okay. Take my scratches, every, spelling, yeah, okay. So anyway. And after got it, and then we got a month. And I don't remember. And I think and Walker, you. Right, you want to see more. So, yeah, that's nice. Their flexibility is more limited to that classroom. When you get out before, you're off. Yeah, yeah. You're not dictational. Yeah. With capital compensation, people who have to end. That find those, but I don't want to. I don't want. I want to be on myself. I have a project that I do. I know, I'm starting to look at my time. As the contractor and they. It should be a job board. And it's like, it should be a debt, and the person is debt now, the person, you know. Well, as soon as I started looking. I think, yeah. They're not really serious about it. I'm thinking when I go. 5 minutes, I'm so used to it. I might work at a meeting. And it's certainly something to see. And we're like. I'm very fully there. Now you're almost 6 months, you know, without. Yeah, it's something. Well, kind of, you know, just turn your phone, you'll know. But we're talking about this, like, oh, oh my gosh, there's a million people out there. But no, you know. You know, for the few are. And it's going to take stuff. So far from and we're paying that. They're now you can also. And they're not gonna get. So I'm like, so we should not pay that back. For that capital pay. Or do we? And then you have to look at you, what you consider an expense, and you consider it income. Right, and or do we? Or do we? Fill up on payments now and then, but then you can get. So I don't know. We had it all planned out, actually, we paid all the months before, but. And it's going to be all kinds of, you can take like, well. It's so that's income, or is it tax? It's really tax, it's a loan out of your program, right? You really take a loan back, and yes, you should keep it, I think that's tax. But once you pass a certain age. My flow was you put a nationwide plan, as long as you put that. You take it out that point. So in theory, you can just not pay over, but in fact, it's some sort of guarantee. And I put something. And I don't know. What do you do? I mean, I don't, they don't think that's out. So I don't, so I'm like, I really don't think that. Then. You probably won't take much of a lead time because then you can see anything in August. But instead, but they just pull that, yeah. So I had here's even that I say. So I told him, I said, you know what? I don't even get that out anymore, but if I had, if I, you don't have to pay off. Yes. I think we'll get a little, stuff to take it, not for me, to get it. Hopefully you don't. Yeah. It's changed, things, I know, and that's it. Can I know we have paid it, and I had one back paid on my husband. Just because we were, I was like, okay, I don't pay it, and we still had it. And I think you put those to that, so that takes a lot of things, so much, I didn't bring them out yet. Write it out and. Put those in. But, as well, I have options. That's the work. One thing. It's not really. Your point of view, right? That's right. And you brought out, and so that's why it's supposed to ask pretty, right? Because it's not really. And so you're getting like that, or it's just a help you out, so you can really draw. Yeah, you're not really different, that's not it, because it's any, it's not, you know, not like, oh, yeah, only $12, $12 half. No, it would be cool, but it's not, you pay it, right? You're currently, right, I mean. That, well, I told him, I said, well, what's the employer guys, employers take it out, this is expensive. They should be paying it up pretty. So, yeah, and the other research, the other companies would let you go for simply a week. It's very, I don't think, should have one day. So, he's had tons of different things to get on system, right? But it's all true. The company, you have to be retained by the end of the year, or you could pay out at 40%. So, he didn't have enough, so he didn't have that every month, he had a plan, they were a lot of that. They're fine. Yes, we might. It's changed actually, but everybody knows it, yeah, everybody knows it. He's a former employee. Yeah, he was a former employee. Principal. Principal. I said that, yeah. Yeah. And yeah. He was on that point. He was on the administration, the very slow, for many years. And then he heard about it, and it was very good. Like, yeah, yeah. He's a nice guy, super. And both his kids teach for him. So, I mean, they're adults now, but that's where he gets so granted. Anyway. Well, when I went to one seminar, I thought fine, but every possible thing, so I want to know if it's me. And yes, for me to just write it, I know, I can probably not. And all these few is a lot of dollars, and they survive benefit. And all as much, but then he died. We had to use some songs. So I'm not, hey. How do you even think about those things? Well, think about. I thought we need to go to. I don't know. Oh my gosh. Oh, double timer. Oh no, we both have to go back to work full time, and I'm not gonna do that. In fact, she told me, Mom, don't sell your house, people my age not gonna be able to buy a house. Or you let us live it, but we die, yeah, that's how. Right now, I love to go back now. So I can't put on that, I can't put my own, my son goes up, okay, I'm gonna, go to the hill, but it's up. And I say, I'm hard to live. Right on the mountain park, so yes, you know, not the parts are, very pricey, Hollywood is getting a little bit, but, anyway, So, you know, I'll move there there, I'm, in the TikTok. And that's, you know, and that's, it's there. I'll just let every, like, it's the friend house. Right, also, right, it's like, it's great, here you go, just make sure, you know, and morning, because if you try to rent for mortgage, they're gonna say, I'm gonna work my mortgage. No, so it's like, I'm not gonna call the stuff, it's because it's the financing thing, for you. Yeah, yeah, I'll go, yeah. Yeah, the things could be triple, you know. Which is a problem because then you don't have, he doesn't have that credit standing thing for holding property. You know, I think we can hold it down one. That's us again. And I have a bill that says my 32-year-old son will be with you on my day. That seems right, everything, yeah, everything's already, you know. And I know my brother from out after that, she's like, oh, not their son class, but there's no, you have to give it, there's no right, and it's like, you know, 90 days or 30 days ago. Oh, but I think you can, I don't think, I'm not sure. No, it is, that's how my dad was talking about the farm. But I think you still have to. There's something you have to. Well, but she helps sometimes. Oh, yeah, keep inheriting that. We should inherit that the whole time we're getting worked up. So, yeah, you say the route that you need. Carol, I don't know really about that. You live in Colorado. You live in Colorado. You look up the good stuff. I look up like. Why are you looking about? Yeah, I don't grab it. Yeah, which reason why that's the fun, especially one fun is the one fun. And you think about it, so. Maybe more that. And then you put it across, they were lucky kids in common because it, you know, they. I don't know that. Oh, it's a hard game. Very good to be really good. I think it's very. I found out that. And I thought. The word you. And I think you got a lot. Yeah, but I took something and I can look at mine and it was wrong, you know, like something channel. There's a chat that is the original and that's. Yeah, amazing. So, I don't know if it was. Oh, critical. Anyway, I don't know. You were like, oh, figure it out your time. I wouldn't know. So I don't. So I don't. And also I mean that's. Oh, and I want to talk to the company. Yeah, no, she's a little older, right? No, and my grandma feels they was not more 8 every yard and her garden. She was 93 years old. They made her stop. Yeah, so it's like, okay, this is if I found this one. What if I hadn't gotten the days like that's off? No, we need to do it. What I was looking at this now. Pictures of those 72-year-old ladies who are now like living like, but you're gonna need to go now. Yeah. If you love person, if you post, I don't think post is great, I love you. No, no. I think if Facebook is just what that is posted on that. And I wasn't supposed to have to say stuff on. Oh. And. I was thinking Facebook. These days, but I will kind of take it over. Right now. Oh. I don't know why. Oh. Right, and I'm big on. No, because it's. Yeah, instead of the other ones, they're longer. Yeah, you start using them. So yeah, I don't like them, so hard to which one. Yeah. Everything's what's right, and I like to. Interesting, interesting. Well, it's my one party, you don't have to do it. Yeah. There's a. There's something. That's a very good one. Obviously, it's very nice. Okay. We're not like, oh, where you eat? And you're like, here, he's like, oh, where you? Okay, there's kind of one house we can have there. He's anywhere as long as it's like, you gotta open up the kids, you gotta learn these issues, learning us. Saying I have to have. That's what we. Like, it's always, okay. He doesn't do any stuff. There's people who. I have to come to you anytime, I'm ready to find some. And, they're. I know. Where, but I will, you know, I don't, but I have people, you know, that's, you know, I'm not even up there. I'm sure, no, I've got some fun about it. Oh, yeah, you know, supposed to rest me, and that, like, yeah, I didn't know stuff like that, like, yes, one did it, and then. So we might be. So, you know, but we, I don't know, so you take my. I need like that. Oh, it's all. Okay. We must have set it out like for now. I didn't know that I was from. Yeah. Right. I know that. And I'm like. I'm all extremely like, it's a kind of job. And very neat, the guy stuff. And people. Oh, like, no, I realize. Yeah, it's, and it's for, you know, you that has to be, but. Well, I see. So I. There's something in town. We'll give it to you, or do we cash? Yeah, there's. Everybody's just saying. Wait, I don't see. Oh, the question is, where is it? Right there, like, or. I think you all. It was fun that happened like. That's really great. So we keep off the dog, yes, it's bothering you. But I'm not for them that is. Maybe handle the. Very big. Okay, I know that, but it's only got to be in the description. But yes, we did, and obviously, I did that when I pulled my one chart. This all that, and I know this about this, my God, this way too much. Patient was so much fun. Is that right? What's the plan? Okay. I'd like to try, don't get me wrong. But when she's frustrated. Trying to figure out why. Yeah. That's the question. An apple. That was all. Good approval, your parents. I like that. You're gonna ask. I was. My friend. Either get me. That you go. Sit on a ground by. But I get it. I'm thankful. Oh my God, aren't it? We're one thing, we're around. Well, that was from there. And he, this is the seven. And his brother was real. Okay. And he. They want to go with the chief. Like stuff that they're very currently involved. Such a video like and I think because you're a big fan, very good. And I think so like oh yeah. You know, okay. Okay. Here's what we have to be. Got it. No, sir. Like, where's your big one? There it is. So you can, Apply for a dollar as long as you go looking. Apply for it. Yeah. Oh, that should be good. Yeah. Maybe it's not like, oh, it's pretty hard to do that whole line. Yeah. I'll be good. And maybe. Yeah. No, there's it. I said he would have let out these five. Yeah, I did a search. No. Oh, yeah, that just. Yeah, I don't want to do this one. You can't make it. I don't think you're gonna be there anymore. No. Apple case. You go down, it's like you close. Yeah, time to the park, really go here. Right on. Sure. Sure. Okay, sure. And then sometimes. Wow. I gotta think of some. God, I'm still playing. Oh, it all. Oh, there are. I keep something in my house, no, there's something. One back, and then I have something. But. Maybe. Yeah, put it out. Oh, good enough. Nothing else, you can fairly not look. That's what you do. Okay. So, hey, that's the last. Archaeology, or gal. That doesn't. Limited job. It's not my chin study, but it's. Pretty lame. So, yeah. Oh, you. Oh, no. Right now. And we have this. Where. Well, the next one to be worth the university. That's the next one. That's the archaeology, all the archaeologists are professors also. Yeah, and. out unless you. So I'm like, hey, that's the way it happens. But, we also have the same time.
Lost their crowd.
Yeah, they didn't stick around, did they?
They didn't. Gee, what a shocker.
Did she know you were before you were born? I think you don't have it all. You see that? They don't have phones, they don't have anything. They don't take the phone.
Okay, so we came out of closed session. And at this time, I would enter. Thank you. Roll call.
Aye.
I.
Aye. All right. Thank you all. See you Monday. Hi, yeah, especially. You know, a lot of all of you. And we've only had.
Yeah, we've only got one now. Yeah.
Practice.